Welcome to the messy middle of entrepreneurship, unfiltered and unapologetic. Uncensored Entrepreneurs, hosted by Starr, Robert Wall, and Tina Torres Wilson, brings you real stories from the trenches of building a business. Those late nights, hard lessons, big wins, and everything in between. This is where the truth about entrepreneurship lives. No fluff, no filters, just raw, honest conversations with founders who have lived it. So, if you're over the highlight reel and you're ready for the real deal, hit play. What if you were meant for more but didn't know where to start? We love talking to entrepreneurs who've done the big, shiny thing and lived through the part that no one wants to talk about. Emily Williams built a 7-figure personal development brand in 18 months. From the outside, it looked absolutely like the dream. Massive impact, major visibility, and all the metrics of success. But behind the scenes, things weren't going exactly as planned. And eventually, it came crashing down. This conversation is about what happens when everything falls apart and you still choose to rebuild. We get into identity, money, leadership, and the real work of creating a business that feels like yours, not the one that you're trapped inside. Emily doesn't sugarcoat anything. She's bold, brilliant, and clear on what it takes to stop settling and start fully living. Let's get into it. Emily, welcome to the Uncensored Entrepreneurs.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, welcome, Emily. Oh my gosh. So I just bought your book and I cannot wait to read it because I looked at your website and it's all pink and I'm a pink girl.
I know both of you have pink and I'm like nothing at the moment, but that's okay.
Emily, I want to kind of go back to like the very beginning of the early days of I Heart My Life. Like, what did it look like? Who were you when you started it? And what were you trying to build or become back in the day?
Yeah, great question. And it's so interesting that you bring up the book because I feel like I need to write another book because that one came out 6 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a completely different person. So, yeah, back in the day when I started I Heart My Life in 2014, which, 11 years ago, I was fresh out of a quarter life crisis. I had literally just figured out my own purpose, discovered the world of coaching, and really started to transform my mindset and realized I could help other women do the same. And so it was really birthed out of this, I guess, need to help other people figure out how to heart their life, and love themselves. Because for so many years, I didn't know how to do that. I had gone to school for psychology, thought I was going to go to grad school, literally turned the car around when I was driving to grad school, and then moved back in with my parents, had to work at Starbucks, ended up randomly moving to London, England. And all of that happened in a short space of time. But for me, it felt like an eternity that I didn't have that clarity, but felt like I was meant for something big. So once I finally had it, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to help other women figure this out and figure out how to be happy because I'd finally figured it out for myself. And so it was just a huge mission just to support women and basically living their best life.
I absolutely love that. And I don't know how old you were when you had this revelation, but most women that I know are like 40 to 50 years old and find that revelation like right during a divorce or empty nesting or something like that. How did you like cope with everything at the same time?
I was young, I was 25, and so it was my quarter life crisis. And I actually interviewed an astrologer on my podcast a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how around that quarter lifetime and around the 45, 50, there's actually like a Saturn return. So there's like this whole planetary shakeup that happens, and we just call it, quarter life or midlife crisis. And so for me, I wouldn't say I handled it well. So I'm originally from Ohio. And during that time, I just didn't have clarity on anything. And as fate would have it, I happened to take a trip to the UK because my sister was studying abroad. And I literally stepped out of Victoria Station in central London. And I had this overwhelming feeling like I was meant to live there. And no one in my family had ever lived in a different country. This was not like a normal thing. I didn't know anyone there, but I just kept coming back to that. And so that was really the first example of me following my heart and just trusting, like, even if this thing seems crazy, which it was, I'm going to see what comes of this. And I like to think about it like you're, following the breadcrumbs of your life. And I just kept like kind of pulling at that and looking at that. and found a way to get there. I applied for a master's in nonfiction writing because I wanted to write a book and got a student visa and then moved there a year later. And I'd love to tell you like my quarter life crisis stayed in Ohio, but it definitely didn't. It followed me across the pond. And there was still stuff to figure out, but at least like I got the ball rolling in the direction of something that was exciting to me.
Yeah, and in a different environment, right? A place that you had fallen in love
I
with.
want to go fall apart in London.
I did just a month ago. I love traveling, and we just got back. We were all across London proper and then the rest of England up into Scotland,
Amazing.
all those places. Beautiful, and I could see why you fell in love with that, with or without a crisis, right? It's a beautiful place, and I too was like, out of all the places outside of the United States, this one actually fits the bill a little bit, you know? So,
It's funny because I found out later on I was actually conceived in London. My parents told me that later on. Yeah, so weird.
That's why.
Yeah, I know. And then I ended up meeting my husband online a year later, and he's British. So then we lived there for 10 years, and I have my citizenship now. My daughter's middle name is London. So, like, I was truly meant to live there.
So where do you live at now?
Long story short, then we went to California, then we went to Texas. Now we're back in Ohio. So I've like fully come full circle, like on the heels of my business crisis, which I know we're going to go into. So it's been like this big, homecoming, coming back to myself.
So, Emily, before you get into the crisis mode, it looks like you did end up going to grad school and you fell into entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you become an entrepreneur? What did that look like for you?
So when I started I Heart My Life, I really didn't know anything about business. And so I knew I needed to work with somebody who could help me make money and learn all the things. And so during that time, because I had gone to grad school, moved to another country, I was over 100 grand in debt. And I met my husband around that same time. And when we got married, he's always been somebody who's believed in me. And so he actually lent me his credit card to sign up for the first program that I was a part of. And he was only making $37,000 a year and the program was 7,500, but he believed in me so much that he was like, let's do it and we're going to make this happen. And so in the beginning, it was really challenging because again, I had no idea what I was doing. There was actually a period of time where I had 54 no's in a row. So I got on call after call after call with potential clients and no one wanted to work with me. And ultimately, because I was in this really incredible program, the coaching calls and worked with my coach and ultimately figured out that I had a lot of my own money blocks that I needed to deal with. I didn't know how to have sales conversations. I was uncomfortable talking about money and selling my products. And so once I was able to kind of work through that, everything started to shift.
I love how you brought your husband into this and how he was so supportive. As an entrepreneur, that's a lot of the challenge that we see many people facing is like not having a supportive spouse. And I think everyone on our show, we have supportive spouses, so we're very fortunate. But thank you so much for sharing that. So after you started, growing this company, you were turned down by 54 people. You started working on the money mindset. So let's talk about that transition into that success and building this empire that you've been able to build.
I guess the biggest pivotal moment for me was realizing that it was actually my duty to talk to people about money on these calls. Just like small tip here, I would literally say to people if they said, I'd love to, but I don't have the money, I'd say, okay, no problem. Do you want me to help you find the money? And we would get creative about how they could source, this amazing opportunity. And they started to open up their mind and think like, oh, wait, I do have that savings, or I do have my spouse who might be willing to invest, or wait, I do have that money sitting there. I just wasn't giving myself permission to use it. And so it started to just open up this like beautiful evolution of my money work with clients. And the more comfortable I got just talking to people about that and also encouraging them to think about instead of saying the normal response of I'd love to, but I can't afford it, opening up their eyes to the possibility and creative solutions for making their dreams a reality. And although I started off doing more life coaching, it really morphed into business coaching because my company grew like to six figures in 6 months and then seven figures in 18 months. And everyone just started asking me how I did it. I Heart My Life morphed into business coaching for coaches, which was completely not the reason why I set off to do this in the first place. But it was really amazing. And it was kind of at the start of the really big coaching boom. I mean, back then, Facebook ads, you could get a lead for like 30 cents or something crazy like that. And so It was really at the start of a lot of the type of coaching that you see out there, especially around a personal brand and a person. And I did a lot of traveling and would photograph everything. Instagram wasn't that big yet, but I had photos in Paris and really like painted the picture of what was possible for people to work from their laptop.
Oh, I love that.
Your branding is definitely on point.
Yes, absolutely. And I love how when you were talking about that mindset shift, it's kind of interesting because you were essentially telling them, you were basically giving them some value and solving a major problem in their life. When in turn, I would imagine as you were doing that over and over, it reinforced your own mindset, right? Because you too had that same kind of epiphany in that shift where you thought money was something you had to seek, to raise, to be able to have, but really it was more about your attitude towards money and just shifting a couple things around that. And so I just think that's interesting because during that journey, did you find that the more you spoke to other clients or even prospects, you were reinforcing your own beliefs around that?
Oh, for sure. And that's why, I teach a lot of money mindset today. And that's why I say it always starts to us. Like, you can't out strategize a scarcity story. If you're coming to a call, like feeling scarce yourself or projecting this belief that people don't have enough, your clients are going to feel that. And I realized like my clients have more than enough people in their life who don't believe in them. I needed to be the person who did. And so that shift was everything. And even if they didn't sign up, they left the call supported. They could see that I believed in them and believed in the possibility for their vision. And that's what people want to feel.
Ooh, I love that. Speaking of I Heart My Life, your business, I want to know some of the pillars that are part of your business and part of the I Heart Life method. And how did you own your own collapse and reinvent yourself from that point?
This is an interesting question because right now, 11 years in, I'm kind of like reinventing as we're speaking. And I'm really leaning into a lot of the money mindset pieces and the abundance pieces. And it's been a journey because for so long I was doing business coaching and that was really powerful. But at the same time, for me, I knew that when people came to me, yes, I could give them a marketing plan and the strategy, but like my real mastery is the really deep work that's beneath the surface that most coaches don't want to do. Right. And we're not trained to do. And so I've really been trying to shift into owning the space of abundance and money mindset and manifesting and living your best life from the internal first and foremost. And so for me, it all comes back to your deep desires and what it is that you actually want. And I believe that our desires are dropped in and that they're not an accident. I could ask all of you today what your greatest goals are, your desires are for your life, and they would be different. And I believe that our desires are a compass to our fully expressed life. And that's what I saw when I moved to London. Like, if I had never followed my heart, I would not have been living the full expression of me. And I think oftentimes people make themselves wrong for what it is that they really want. Maybe they question if they can have it. They feel like they're being too greedy or people are going to judge them. And so it truly comes back to what it is that you actually want, but also from the perspective of your future self. Because right now, like we're all operating in fear, insecurity, doubt, right? But if we remove that and we really tune in to that person who's the highest vibration, your true self, maybe even the little girl or boy that you were when you first started off in this life before you became jaded or had all of the programming sink in, like what is it that you actually want? And what's the vision for your future? And so that's what I'm really passionate about is helping people tune into their desires first and foremost, then reprogram their mindset and their beliefs, and then taking that action because I'm not about meditating on the top of a mountain and just sitting there. You need to take the action and be showing up on behalf of your vision.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation. I want to take a quick moment to share something that comes up a lot with my clients. Selling doesn't have to feel heavy or exhausting. I work with course creators and coaches who are tired of launching all the time and not seeing consistent results. Inside Pink Door Marketing Agency, I help them build evergreen systems that work in the background and bring in the right people with ease. If you're ready to sell in a way that feels aligned, visit pinkdoormarketingagency.com. Now let's get back to the show.
So, Emily, can we hear a little bit about the transition that took place when things felt like they were falling apart? And I think they did fall apart. And I know that's kind of a sensitive topic, I think, for myself as well. Can you share that journey with us? What happened to you in your business? How did you know that, okay, this is not just a seasonal thing, but things have completely shifted?
Well, I always say that in some way or another, if you're not aligned, then either life is going to do it for you and cause some sort of upheaval, or you get to make a decision to go in a different direction. So for me, a few years ago, back in 2022, I realized I didn't want to do business coaching anymore. I wanted to step into the work like I just described to all of you. And so I made this big plan to start to pivot I Heart My Life. I actually took out a business loan. I made like very conscious decisions. And at the same time, I had launched this mastermind that I was going to run one more time that was business focused. And we did incredible things. We had a retreat in Austin. We went to Bora Bora, like all these epic things. Also helped people build their business. And it was really interesting because during that time, I was actually attracting a lot of people who were also in this period of reinvention alongside of me, right? Not anything that's unheard of. We attract what we're putting out into the world. And so a lot of them were in the middle of pivots and changing things up. And so their revenue started to shift. And there was a lot that happened behind the scenes where they were blaming me for that. I don't need to go into all the details, but essentially what happened is there was one person in that program who made it her duty to take everything down. And so we ended up losing over $250,000 that was supposed to come into the business. I found out that all of this stuff was going on behind the scenes and that there was somebody running my name through the mud. Basically, at the time I was 6 weeks pregnant as well. And we just purchased a new house. We built our dream house in Austin. So it was like the perfect storm of all these things at once. And so you can imagine if you just bought your dream house and all the furniture and you just got this business loan to pivot your business and you thought you were going to have 250 grand coming in, that doesn't end up coming in, and you're pregnant, is a lot. And so that was 2022. And I decided not to pursue legal action against this person because I didn't want to be in a legal battle for my entire pregnancy. And so I literally just had to kind of start over in many ways. And that's the short version. But there were periods of time where it was really painful. Like there was a point where I couldn't pay my Amex bill. And so I was sued by Amex with a 6-week-old baby in my arms. And we had to sell our house. We moved back to our hometown. And so I've really been rebuilding ever since then. And at the same time, as painful as it was and still is at times, I know that it was like the redirection that I needed to get back into my purpose and really get on the path that's meant for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We talk a great deal about alignment, like with self, but even the partners that we do business with, it's so critical that we're in alignment with them as well. And it takes those hard lessons. By the way, when you were just sharing that story, I think each one of us were kind of just clenching and kind of gritting our teeth a little bit because it triggered us, right? Like we can resonate with that. Most of us that have been entrepreneurs for, 10, 15, 20 years, we've been through this hero's journey with these ups and downs and making decisions that ultimately didn't turn out to be in our favor immediately, maybe monetarily, but in the long run, the fact that you've equipped yourself with this mindset and the tools necessary to just kind of get back on, and rebuild. Most people don't have the ability to do that. And so I think that the real value in all of that, as you know, is there's going to be so many people that resonate with that story and that you can actually show them that there is a way to rebuild and continue to pursue their dreams, regardless of what's happened.
I work with a lot of women who are sharing this story. I'm a publisher. And when I'm getting into their story, there's always that 1 or 2 chapters of their story where they kind of like lost themselves and lost it all, right? And they're like, ooh, that's going to be an easy chapter to write. I already healed. And then they're like, ooh, Tina, you don't think I've healed from that? Because that really triggered me. And I'm like, okay, listen, I give them space and I give them grace to step back and to get all that process. What did you have to do once you had to do that? I think all of us have been in that situation where there's always that 1 or 2 clients that are like, it's all your fault, like kind of blaming us for their downfall. What did you do to kind of keep yourself from not completely falling apart? Because I know there was like a little bit that you still had left of you. We're like trying to like hang on by a string.
Well, I think there's 2 things. First is I know what my purpose is, and there's not one person or one situation or whatever, one opportunity that's going to be make or break for me. And so I know that if I just tune into my purpose and trust that this is what I'm meant for, that it'll happen. Do I know the exact timeline? Well, no, but I know that I have that trust and that belief that, again, my desires are truth. And so I'm going to continue to show up in that way. The second thing that I did was I actually started a peer mastermind to surround myself by amazing women. So our mutual friend Amy is in that mastermind. And I just felt really called to bring incredible women together who were female founders, who have been in business for a long time. They know the ins and the outs, just to support one another. I'd been a coach in masterminds many times, but I didn't want that. I just wanted to have peer-to-peer support. And it was honestly one of the best things I've ever done because I just got to like be around incredible women, and I'd spent 10 years building relationships and being a part of communities, going to retreats, attending other events. So I had this great network. So I thought, let's just bring everyone together to support one another. And so just like what you shared here, I realized I wasn't the only one who had experienced something like this. And everyone was so non-judgmental and really just like in belief that they knew I was going to rebuild and it was going to happen again. And sometimes you need to kind of adopt other people's belief in you, especially during times like that. And so honestly, that was one of the best things that I did. And that was just pure intuition. I didn't have a business plan or anything. I was just like, I want to be around these amazing women. Let's set something up. And that's actually morphed into my second brand. It's called To Be Ambitious. And so it's a peer-to-peer community for amazing, ambitious women.
That's really exciting. Well, I was going to ask, and it sounds like you've already given us a little glimpse of that with this new transformation and kind of this pivot currently in your life, because we're constantly, kind of tweaking our brand. Our brand really essentially is our life. And so as we unpack that, what's the one thing right now that's like lighting you up, that's really moving you through 2025, right? 24, as far as overall with entrepreneurs, pretty tough year. We're going into 25, a lot of shifts. We're all pivoting. So what's the one thing that's lighting you up right now? Is it the new community and the brand, or are there other things as well?
I mean, I'm always doing a lot of things. I don't know about you guys, but that's one of the things for sure. I've also really been revamping I Hurt My Life and what we have there and just simplifying. So I'm now doing power hours with one-to-one clients again, which I haven't done in a long time, which has been super fun. I've also been revising my money mindset work. We're launching a new money mindset membership, which no one is doing, which I'm super pumped about. And it's going to have this beautiful new framework in it to help women create wealth. And that's exciting. And then I also launched a money mindset certification. So again, people aren't really training coaches on this methodology. And so I'm also licensing people to be able to sell my money work to their clients and their students. So there's a lot happening, but really what it comes down to is just really leaning into the stuff that's my mastery and my zone of genius and just going all in on that. It doesn't sound like I'm simplifying, but for somebody who likes to do a billion things, that is simple. And then I'm honestly really excited. I have a 2-year-old and it's the best. So just super grateful for her and what that brings to my life.
Oh, that's awesome. So you have a little 2-year-old. So what feels different right now about the way you're building this version of your life and your brand?
Oh gosh, good question. The first thing that comes to mind is just not doing it alone, basically. So I have a colleague, we've been friends since 2014. She was the program director in the first program I was a part of. She's been in the coaching space for 15 years. So we keep saying we're the second round of OGs. And we're building out the certification together. So just collaborating and having somebody who thinks really differently to me has been really incredible. I also have another colleague who's been helping me with my membership. And so just recognizing like I have certain strengths and I really need to stay in that zone and let other people come in and support me and do things a little bit differently. And I think for a while, I've also resisted this idea of having a system or a method, but actually it really helps people to understand what your process is. And I think for those of us who are visionaries and like, I'm not floaty, but like I am very emotional and like I like to tune into things. It can feel like a step-by-step process kind of puts you in a box, but I've actually really embraced that and realized from an adult learning perspective and really helping people and also setting yourself apart, it can be really helpful to have that system.
So during these, past couple of years, a lot of entrepreneurs are pivoting. A lot of it is due to the economic factors. So how are you working with clients around like the money mindset, their self-worth? Are you recommending that they charge high ticket versus low ticket? What does that look like in client support for you right now?
Well, it's interesting because I actually study a lot of different brands and a lot of different coaches in the space. And honestly, everyone's doing something different. Like some people are just in low ticket, some people are still in high ticket. I think the thing across the board is that people need some sort of trust building offer first and foremost. So maybe that's like a one-to-one power hour. Maybe it's a smaller course. Maybe it's a private podcast series where they get to know you and feel your energy and see if you're the right fit. Because honestly, I believe you can sell anything if you have the right audience there and obviously the belief in yourself. But I do think people need a bit more warming up right now. And so putting something out there that's easy to consume, doesn't feel like it takes a lot of time, but gives them a lot of incredible value and experience with you before the bigger thing is really powerful. For example, there's somebody I follow and I just consumed, like binge consumed her 7-part private podcast. And then I immediately messaged her and I was like, tell me about your one-to-one, tell me about your mastermind. And she's a high ticket coach. She sells $20,000 month packages and her mastermind is 30K and up. But like literally just listening to that private podcast was so powerful for me. And then I also observe people really showing up on social media and have that consistency. It's not like people are coming to your account and you haven't posted for a month. They know they can trust you and they know that you're going to be in their feed. Just like any other relationship, people want to know that they can count on you. And there's going to be some level of repetition, or maybe it's a podcast, something they can rely on week after week or day after day.
Yeah, it's so true. Each one of us, by the way, has gone through those seasons of low ticket, high ticket, one-on-one coaching, group coaching. We've all been there. And I think that rather than like following trends, it's just being really in tune with your audience to the point of knowing where they are, like meeting them exactly where they're at. And so, if you're working with CEOs and executives that are already at this level that require some major one-on-one coaching, then you're going to be at this high ticket level. I love the fact that you're offering all of these things and that you even mentioned that it's not just a one thing fits all, because I do believe that within our communities, there are people that, again, we have to meet them exactly where they're at and in their journey as well. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I see it on my feed all the time. Like I have one ad from someone saying no one's selling high ticket anymore. Then the next ad is sell high ticket, don't do low ticket. I actually feel bad for people that are just starting out right now in the coaching space because I'm like, this must be so confusing to you because you probably don't know yourself yet. You don't know what you want. You're hearing all these mixed messages. And so anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But I truly believe that you just have to tune in to what's aligned for you and talk to your customer, get feedback. Don't be afraid to change things up. Like I'm literally going to be putting something in front of my top 20 people and being like, would you buy this? I'm about to spend the next 5 years of my life doing it. So tell me yes or no. And like, I'm excited to hear what they have to say. And I'm not scared to scrap something and start over. So you really just have to be willing to pivot and do it quickly and not be attached to anything, but still like know what's aligned for you.
I feel like we're like constantly pivoting. Like almost every month, we're like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's go here.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not working in the social media world because so many things are changing. So, Emily, what is on the horizon for you? What's coming up in the next 6 months that you're so excited about?
Yeah. So, like I said, the certification for sure, we're starting that literally in a couple of weeks at the time I'm recording this. So, the money mindset certification, then rolling out my new money mindset membership. So, just really diving into that whole world and really owning that space because I know that that's my mastery for sure. And obviously, that means helping people to define like what their rich life actually means, what are their desires, because it's different for everyone. But I've just realized like being more specific is going to serve me better because the brand I Heart My Life, it's an amazing name and I feel like it's my legacy. And sometimes people don't know exactly what that means. Like, what does it mean to love my life? And is that actually the goal? And one of my copywriter friends, she said, well, people don't want to be told, well, just love your cellulite. They want to be told how to get rid of it. And so I thought that was such a good point. So just like owning that space and being as specific as possible. I'm not saying I am excited about it, but that's not like the top thing. The programs I'm launching are the top things. And what else? Honestly, just life. And we're going to England for a month. I'm turning 40. So going to be celebrating that.
Happy birthday.
So yeah, just all the new things on the horizon I like creating. And maybe there'll be a book in there as well. So I'm just excited for all of it.
Perfect. Now, when these new programs roll out and really anything to do with the evolution of your business and how people can reach you, is the iheartmylife.com the best place that they can?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, iheartmylife.com. So you'll see the membership as well as the certifications on there. And at the time that we're recording this, I have power hours available. I'm not sure how long I'll do that. The one-to-one work, as you guys know, it does take time. I do love it, but every single month it seems to be a little bit different in terms of availability. And then I have my podcast, the I Heart My Life show as well. And then my other brand is To Be Ambitious, which is the peer-to-peer community.
That sounds really, really exciting. Yeah. So as we kind of come to a close, because we could sit here and we could learn from each other all day long, and we will. There will be more times for that for sure. But what's the one piece of advice that you would put out there to that young woman entrepreneur, not even an entrepreneur yet, right? They're just figuring things out, but they want to be, very independent, and they want to start something that can provide wealth for themselves and their family.
I think the biggest thing is just not being scared. And if you are scared, just follow that and don't allow it to stop you. Because there's been so many things in my life. Like if I had known everything that was going to happen, like the hard stuff, the reinventions, the pivots, I probably would have been like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm cut out for it.
Yeah, I don't want to go that route.
Yeah, exactly. But you, whatever is calling you, just know that you would not have that desire or that instinct unless it was meant for you and possible for you. And unless you had the resources within to be able to do it and make it happen. So, just that belief in yourself, it's going to be everything. And just continue to follow that, even when the fear comes up, even when the doubt comes up or the challenges, just keep moving forward. I've been around so many entrepreneurs over the last 10 years, and so many people quit prematurely because it is challenging. So you just have to have that grit and that fortitude to keep going. And you don't have to do it alone. There's amazing people who will support you and share their stories with you and cheer you on. You just have to keep going.
Absolutely. Any other final thoughts, Starr?
So much for being here, Emily. We love your story. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing all the challenges, because a lot of people don't talk about the hard times, how they've overcome it, what they had to face. So I appreciate you sharing everything.
Oh, thank you for creating such a safe space and for making me feel so welcome.
Absolutely. It's
And
been a pleasure.
I'll be in London in a couple of weeks for Emily's 40th.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'm on board. I absolutely loved it there. Thank you so much for being on the Uncensored Entrepreneurs today. Again, we've had Emily Williams. You can find out everything that you need to about her at iheartmylife.com. She's built an amazing brand that's resilient, and it helps women rise in life and in business. So thank you once again, and we'll see you in another episode of the Uncensored Entrepreneurs. Thanks for listening to the Uncensored Entrepreneurs. If you're getting value from the show, take a minute to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you tune in. It helps more bold entrepreneurs find us. Until next time, keep showing up, uncensored and unapologetic. And we'll catch you on the next episode.